Okay. Probably later today, after the recording, after the lecture, I will post this on probably YouTube. It's better. You can go to YouTube and then search my name and then find this class. And I will mark today's date for the file name, and you can find it and look at it if you can make it. You don't, if you attend the class, either Zoom or later face-to-face, you don't have to go there to watch it again. Okay. Okay. So today we're gonna do chapter 1. Chapter 1 is introduction to construction planning and scheduling, and also bar chart. And chapter 2, we will cover the network model. Okay, so today it's like I said, you guys are graduate student. You already have the bachelor degree in construction or related field. So this content probably you're already familiar with. So I'm just gonna review that. So first of all, let's see what is planning and what is scheduling. What's the difference of scheduling and planning? So let's see. First of all, planning. What is planning? Planning is the definition in the textbook. Planning is developing the logic of how a project will be constructed. So basically, the key word over here is logic, developing the logic how a project will be constructed. So that's logic is a key word over here, and planning have some key element over here, key elements. So planning involves making decisions about what task will be performed, what task. So this item, we call that activities, construction activities. And then how the task will be performed involves resources and money, how the task will be performed. Resources including labors and also the equipment, materials, and then is who will perform the task. This specifically meaning the labors. Okay, and then in what and why in this sequence the task will be performed. This is tell you the keyword logic. This is in what and why. This is the logic. So you can see this definition, this element have totally four important key elements over here. Key elements over here for planning, which are activities, logic, and resource and money, because the labor belongs to the resource as well. So totally four: activity and the money and the resource and the logic, totally four important key elements over here. Let's see what's the difference between that and the scheduling. So this is scheduling, definition of scheduling. Scheduling is integrating the plan with a calendar or a specific time frame. So the keyword is time. So planning plus time is called scheduling. So that's why duration and time calculation is a key, very important topic for scheduling. Okay, very important topic for scheduling. So this is a definition. This is a theoretical part. What is planning and scheduling? Now let's see why we need schedules, why we need to do scheduling before construction work. So let's see the advantage, the pros and cons. The pros are the schedule can help you reduce construction time. So sometimes if you have a good schedule, a few subcontractors or some different type of laborers can work on the construction site at the same time to save your time. And it can reduce the cost. Time is money. If you save time, then the overhead going to be detected. Then you can reduce the total cost. And also, you can order material in time. You can hire regular labor, and you don't need to hire, extra hours, overtime laborers to spend more money. So that's why you can reduce the total cost if you have a good scheduling. And a good schedule can provide a more continuous flow of work. It connected to next item, give crews and subcontractors a goal to work towards. So all the crew and subcontractor knows where they need to go inside and where they have to finish their part of work and leave. So this one will guarantee a continuous workflow. Okay. And then because of this, they have the goal, so this can intentionally increase the productivity of different group of workers. Okay, that's a advantage, the pros of the scheduling. And continue, so it can improve your company's image. So typically can help you win a bid if you have good scheduling. That can show you have previous experience and you have a very strong team and you can do a decent work. So all those can improve your company image. And then it can help you to control time, cost, quality, and safety. Okay, if you have a good schedule, you won't miss any of this. It can help you control the time, control the cost. Along this semester, later chapters, I will cover how to calculate to control the time, control the cost, and help manage materials, manage labors, manage money, equipment, subcontractors. So to control the time, control the cost, in chapter 10, we will cover how to work on that. Like what is the method we can use to tell us, are we ahead of schedule or behind schedule? Are we under budget or it's over budget already? Okay, this type of question, we will use calculation to tell the information. And then if you have a good schedule, it can help force us to do a detailed thinking before the construction work started. And also definitely can improve communication because every team have the schedule. They know when they should go in, when they should go out. So it's helped them to communicate when they get their part ready. Okay, so this is the pros of scheduling. So as I mentioned, the planning have 4 important key elements, and at the time it comes to scheduling. So that in that words, so scheduling have 5 important elements then. So the 5 important elements are, this page is pretty important, the 5 important elements of scheduling. So they include activity, logic, duration, resource, and cost. Let's see the definition of each of them. So activity. Activity is a single work step. It's a work step that has a recognizable beginning and end. So if a work step have a recognizable beginning and the finishing time, then that's an activity. For example, pour concrete, prepare rebar. Those could be an activity, defined as an activity. Then it's logic. Logic is basically it's older those activities is called logic. So the order in which the activities are to be accomplished. So which activity should go first, which activity should go next, and then after that, I can do which activities. So those are logic. Next one, duration. Duration is the time. Duration means the time in which each activity is required to be accomplished. So activity duration are estimated based upon productivities of crews and equipment. So this is how you're going to calculate activity duration. So it's based upon your company's historical data. So the historical data, you can use historical data to calculate the productivity of your crew or your equipment. Then use this productivity and use a new amount of work for the new coming product, new coming activity. You can use this information to calculate, to estimate what is the scheduled duration for an activity. In chapter 4, we will focusing on this calculation part, duration calculation. That will be our chapter 4, probably next week. Okay, so that's duration. Next one is resource. Resource have labors, equipment, and the material. Okay, so the labors, the unit for labors is labor hours. How many labor, how many hours they need. That's how we measure labor resource. And the equipment hours, to measure the equipment you use, the equipment resource. For material, different unit for different type of material. For example, the forms, we need to use square footage. Concrete, we use cubic yards. So for those type of things, different material, we use different unit to measure that. But material will not be a focus for this class. This is scheduling. We're going to focusing more on the duration calculation, focusing more on the labor, equipment calculation, and the money calculation instead of the material and materials cost. Okay, material and material cost, that will be covered in another class, cost estimating for construction. Okay, so the last important element is the cost. The money required to complete a single activity or complete the serious activity for this project. So those are the 5 key elements for scheduling. Okay, this is key elements. Now let's see the scheduling methodology of scheduling. What tools is available for us to do construction scheduling? So for very simple one, very extremely simple one. So we have checklist or to-do list. To-do list. For example, I do my checklist every day. So what is my schedule and what you have finished it, I check it out. Okay, so that's a checklist, to-do list. A lot of people do that actually. But that is a little bit, way too simple. If we have a lot of activities for construction project and the logic relationship among those activities are complicated, then checklist to-do list is not going to work. It will be a mess, completely a mess. So that's checklist to-do list, not popularly used for construction project, but for routine work, routine scheduling, that's popularly used. Okay, and then bar chart. This is very popularly used. One of the most popularly used tools, bar chart. Okay, we will talk about that in a little bit more detail today. And then the main focus for this semester will be the network logic, okay? Network logic method. Network logic have those three sub-methods. Method one is called critical path method. We're gonna primarily focusing over here, the critical path method. We use critical path method to solve most of our problems for this class, and also in the future in your work. And the most popularly used precedence diagram using most popularly used the critical path method using the precedence diagram as the network to show the network. Okay, precedence diagram also called activity on node diagram. Activity on node diagram. Basically, all the diagram has node and lines. So for this precedence diagram, the node represent activity. Lines represent logic relationship. And the other diagram is called arrow diagram. In 1970s, the arrow diagram is popularly used. It's old schools. Arrow diagram is the arrow represent activities, and the node represent time spot called the event. Okay, so I will talk both of them along this semester. And the 3.2 is a linear schedule. Linear schedule handles a specific type of construction work, for example, road construction or high-rise building construction, a lot of repetitive type of work. Each mile of road similar, and each story of building is similar. So we do repetitive work. And this one, the linear schedule can show the speed, the working speed or working rate very clearly. Okay, now it's the last one. This semester, I'm gonna also cover that. It's called PERT method. PERT method is program evaluation and review technique. Program evaluation and review technique, which is a probability-based calculation technique. Okay, I will cover that probably close to the end of this semester. Now let's talk about one by one. First of all, it's a bar chart. Okay, bar chart. Bar chart is developed in 1917 by Henry Gantt. So that's why this bar chart is also called Gantt chart. Gantt chart is bar chart. So over here, I listed an example of a residential building construction project. You can see this is a residential building construction project. This can show some information we need. For example, first item, we can see from over here what activity this project involves. It includes 4 activities. They are excavation, foundation work, framing, and the finish interior. Okay, 4 different activities. And it can show the logic, roughly show you the logic. So over here, after you finish excavation, you can pour the foundation. After you finish foundation work, then you can erect framing. After the framing is done, you can do the finishing and the interior type of work. Okay, roughly we can guess. On this bar chart, it didn't show you explicitly. We guess this is the logic relationship. That's why over here bar chart is kind of weak, show you the logic relationship, but very strong to show you the time and the duration. So you can see the third item over here. Third item over here is duration. The bar chart can show duration very clearly. Over here, the excavation need 3 weeks. Foundation need 3 weeks. Framing need 6 weeks. And the finish interior need 5 weeks. Okay, show the duration very clearly. And can show the start and the finish time very clearly. For example, the excavation start at the 2nd week of January and the finish at end of January. So it can show you clearly what is the starting and the finish time. This is the strength of bar charts. Okay, and then also bar chart, when we use bar chart, we can add more information over here. We can add more information in bar chart. For example, over here, I showed you an example over here. I draw a line. I draw a line over here. Okay, this is my current date. Current date. And the shaded area over here are the work I have completed. So based upon this handling, I draw a line and shaded area showing the work already finished. So this one we can tell is ahead of schedule or behind schedule. So this one is ahead of schedule or behind schedule. This one is ahead of schedule or behind schedule. Current date is over here. I finished over here. Anyone?
I think ahead of schedule.
This is current date. Current date. I finished this part. See, I scheduled this until here. I only finished a part of I scheduled. Right? I finished a part of, I didn't finish enough work I scheduled. I didn't finish the part of work I scheduled. So that is called if I didn't finish the work I scheduled
Yeah, behind schedule.
Behind schedule, yes, yes. Very good, Chikazi. That's behind schedule, behind schedule. This one, use this, draw this line, and mark shaded area, can show you this is the monitoring and control part of information. Okay, then why we need the network model instead of use bar chart only, because the bar chart has some limitation. Bar chart has some limitation over here. So as you can see, bar chart, I listed some items over here. Bar chart doesn't show interdependencies. I will use example to show you why. And bar chart doesn't identify activities that are critical. Cannot tell you which activity is critical activity. Critical activity defined as the activity can be delayed. If you delay this activity, the completion date of the whole project gonna change. Okay, gonna be delayed. If you delay that specific activity, the whole project gonna be delayed. So this type of activity is called critical activity. So bar chart cannot show you which activity is critical. That's important. And then it's ineffective for changing. If we want to make change to a project, to an activity, what other activities should we also change? So in using bar chart, it's going to be very hard to work on that. And also, it doesn't show actual potential date in an activity may take. So actual potential days activity may take is called float. Float is how many free days you have for a specific activity without impact completion date of the project. That is called float. So I will talk about how to calculate float later when we talk about the network logic model. So over here, using bar chart, the float is difficult to show. Okay, so this is the limitation of bar chart. Then this is the example to show those limitations. Okay. This is the example to show all those limitations. So this example gave you a project, a general project. I generalize everything, use A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I instead of actual activity name. Just use a letter, represent the activities. Those activities, the schedule is look like this. Okay. The bar chart schedule look like this. So let's see interdependency. For example, activity F is rely on finishing of which activity? We don't know. It could be B, could be part of C, it could be D. By only use bar chart, we can't tell interdependencies. Okay, this is one weakness of bar chart. And over here, we can't tell which activity is critical. The activity cannot be delayed. Which activity cannot be delayed? It seems activity B can be delayed without impact over here. But if this one delayed, it's gonna impact on activity E if there's an interrelationship over here. We don't know if there's a relationship between these two, so we can't tell which one is critical activities. So if I want to change this schedule, for example, I delayed D. I'm late of starting work on D 1 week. So D gonna shift to the right-hand side for 1 week. Then which other activity should I change? Do I need to change C? Do I need to change E? Do I need to change F? We don't know. So to change, if I change something by only use bar chart, it's hard for you to know which other activity gonna need to be changed. And then what is a float? Each activity, how many free days they have. So B may have 1 week, C, I don't know, and D, I don't know. If it's related to E, then that's critical activity. That cannot be delayed, no float. Float gonna be 0. So this one cannot show any float information, okay? This is the example gave you show you what is the limitations. What is the limitations of bar chart? Because of these limitations, we need to use this precedence diagram, network logic to show. So this precedence diagram actually showed the same project as I showed you in this bar chart. This two actually gave you the same thing. It just this network logic, the precedence diagram shows better the interrelationship. So the link lines means finish to start. After you finish A, you can start B. You can start B. After you finish A, you can start 80% of activity C, and you can start D. So B, C, D are all rely on A. So over here, finish A, B, C, D all rely on A. Finish that, we can start the 3. And then you can see F is completely rely on B. After finish B, we can start F. So over here, that means this guy is only rely on this one. Actually, I can even start over here instead of here, okay? But when we do the schedule, they want to leave some space, probably because of the labor, because of the subcontractor team. So they choose start 1 week later. So that's their decision. But from the logic model, we know immediately after we finish B, we can start F. Okay, based upon the 80% of C, you can start, you can work on the leftover of C and also the activity G. So from here, you can see G is rely on 80% of C finish. Okay, and then E is only rely on D. E is rely on D. And then, so H, based upon F and C, finish C and F, we can start H. So over here, C and F finished, we can start H. And then H, G, and E together, all finished, then we can start the last activity, activity I. So over here, you can see finish H, G, E, we can start I. Okay, with the help of precedence diagram and network model. So the concept, the schedule of this project is clearer. Okay, so that's a limitation of bar chart, why we need this network logic to help understand the bar chart, understand the schedule of a project. Okay, that's a brief review of chapter 1. Chapter 1. Any questions for chapter 1? Any questions about bar chart and its limitation? Chapter 2, we're going to briefly review how to develop a network model. Okay. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Okay, then we can keep going. Okay. So let's keep working on chapter 2, developing a network model. I already showed you the precedence diagram in last chapter. It's precedence diagram and the network model. It's like this. It's like this. So using a network as scheduling tool. The network include nodes. Those are nodes. Nodes for precedence diagram is represent activities. Activities. For example, over here, layout wall. This is an activity. Place rebar cage. This is an activity. Erect wall forms. This is an activity. And also, those are link lines. This represents a logic relationship. Link lines represent a logic relationship. Over here, this means after we finish place rebar cage, we can tie the rebars. Place cage, and then we can tie the rebar. After we tie the rebar and check the wall form, we can start pour concrete. There's a finish to start logic relationship over here. Those are finish to start logic relationship. Those lines represent logic relationship. Node represent activities. Okay, that's a component of precedence diagram and network model. So let's see how to draw one. The step how to build a network model. So several steps listed over here. First, we need to find what activity for a given project. What activity is needed? We need to have an activity list. Okay, and then after we got the activities, we need to order it. There are several methods on how to order those activities. I will show you one today. And then after we got this order, then based upon the order, we can draw the network diagram. Basically, the network logic models precedence diagram. Network precedence diagram. We draw that diagram. And then after we got the diagram, we need calculate the duration of each activity and then assign those duration to this diagram. And then assign the resource and the cost to this diagram. Okay, assign those resource and the cost to this diagram. And then after we got all the duration and all the resource for each activity is assigned, then we can do calculation. We can do calculation. The calculation is to calculate what we're going to calculate. So I will give you an example, show the calculation. And this will be in the exam, okay? Calculate the early start, late start, early finish, late finish. We calculate this 4 different times, okay, different times. Early start, early finish, late start, late finish. We need to know how to calculate those times. And based upon those times, then we're gonna calculate what is the float value for each activity, and then identify where is the critical path and what are critical activities. After that, based upon the early start, late start, early finish, late finish, we select a time point for each activity to start and finish. So that's the whole procedure. We're gonna go over, use the example one by one, okay? One by one, we're gonna go over this list. So right now, I just want to show you the complete workflow. Complete workflow is like this. Okay, now, first one is define activities. How to find an activity list. This one is not what we can learn from classroom. This is based upon each company have their preferred construction type of project. They have their own activity list. So different companies use different lists to handle this. So it's completely rely on historical data and experience. So, but over here, if we don't have that, we can use a master format 2004, 2010, 2016 to roughly find a list if we are not familiar with. This is somewhere you can start with. But anyway, the activity list should include 3 different types of activities, 3 different types of activities. First one is the real construction production type of activity. For example, the pour concrete, okay, pour the slab, something like that, okay, and bolt steel girders. So those are the real construction type of activity. And there is a procurement activity like buy materials and rent equipment, this type of activity, procurement type of activity. And there's a management type of activity, such as do inspection and do shop drawing approval and get certification, conduct a factory test, something like this. Those are management type of activities. So briefly speaking, there are 3 different types of activities we should consider when we prepare this list. Okay, then let's see if I have, okay, if I want to pour a concrete footing. So what activity should what activity list should I prepare? I will give you a couple of minutes to you to roughly think about it and probably write it down. So to see if your list is matched with mine. Okay, so give you a couple of minutes to think about it. If I want to pour a concrete footing, so what type of activities I need to handle? Give you 2 minutes. Think about it. Now at the same time, I will record your attendance on my attendance sheet over here. So based upon the participants over here. So Hammonds, Davinabonia, are you here? Okay, I guess that's the only student missing. Okay, everybody else is here. Great. Okay, so let's see my list. Okay, let me. We don't need to do this. Okay, so my list include the following. It's not in order yet. Next step, we will order it. So it's just a list. Layout foundation, we need draw where the foundation we want to be, and dig the foundation, dig this hole over here, and place the formwork. Those formwork we need do the formwork, and pour concrete. This picture not showing the concrete pouring yet, and purchase the steel rebar. We need buy the steel rebar. We need cut and bend the steel rebar, and we need place the steel rebar. So put the steel rebar cage over here and order concrete. Those are the some rough list I have listed over here. Okay, so for a homework or exam or Primavera, as I said, to find out this list, it's based upon working experience. So I will not use that as a problem for test or for homework. So for homework or test, I will provide you the list, let you to do the later analysis, future analysis, okay? And this is the example of find the activity list. After we find the activity list, then we need to order that. This is an important part over here, how to order a given activity list. So we're going to order activities based upon constraints, different constraints. So the constraints including physical constraints. For example, we need to place concrete slab before we erect frames. Okay, we need to place rebar before pour concrete. So those are physical constraints. You have to finish one step of work, one activity, then you can do the other. So that's a physical constraint, and there are resource constraints. So resource constraints, for example, you have only one crane used for two activities. Then this two activities cannot work together on the same day. You have to shift it. So in chapter 6, we will handle, we will work on examples on how to handle the restraints constraints. Next one is safety constraints. Safety constraints. So for example, we need to add some extra safety activity, safety related activity in our schedules. So for example, build a safety barrier before work, add a fence, something like that for safety. And financial constraints. So if you have fixed cash flow, then when you define your which activity should do first, you need to rely on this. If you don't want to borrow money from your previous profit or borrow money from bank, so you need to have enough money in your hand to buy the material to get this part of activity finished. So it's really cash flow also impact the schedule, the order of activities. And there's environmental constraints like a spawning season or fish runs, some example like that will impact. So what order you want to do this activity. You need to probably for some activity to avoid this time, especially for something like construct a dam or some type of project. You need to consider those environmental constraints. Other constraints like management constraints, probably you have multiple projects going on. So one group of labor need to work here and also over there. You need to do some management work, let them effectively working on two projects. and the contractual contract required constraints. So the owner may have some specific requirement, let you finish part one of this construction work first, then they can rent it out and get the cash back, and then to work on the second phase of a project. So this is a very commonly used method. And then regulatory constraints is a government requirement. For example, get some kind of certificate, need some type of proof, something like that. Those are regulatory constraints. So this also impacts your steps, the order of your activities. Okay, so talk about how to order it, the methodology we used to order those activities. There are three different popular use methodology. One is called the IPA table, and ISA table. IPA is immediate preceding activities table. And the ISA is immediate succeeding activities. Immediately preceding activities, immediately succeeding activities. So both of this method is acceptable by Primavera software. So next week you will see Primavera. It accepts your table, IPA table, or ISA table, or a combination table, including IPA and ISA information. Primavera can identify that automatically. Okay, so to next week, when you input your information, I will provide you information, ask you to input into Primavera's database. I will provide you IPA table. You need to type into your input into your Primavera database. Okay, so but the most popular use, the manual calculation method over here is IPA table, immediate preceding activities. And the third method is for some simple project. If you already know the order, you can draw the network diagram directly. Not very popular used for large size construction project. Okay, it's hard to draw that directly. Okay, now let's see how can we order this. So how can we create an IPA table? Use this one. So how can we create an IPA table? Use this one. Let me show you how to do this analysis. So I'm gonna temporarily stop sharing and show you my paper over here. Okay, so this one, we want to create an IPA table, which is given information is activity A is layout foundation. Layout foundation. Activity B is dig foundation. Activity C is formwork. Activity D is pour concrete. Activity E is buy rebar. Activity F is cut and bend rebar. Cut and bend the rebars. And then next one, G is place rebar. Put rebar in place. And activity H is by concrete material. So those are the list, my activity list. Now I want IPA. So we're going to go over each of them to see which activity has to be finished immediate before that activity. Immediate before that activity. So let's see, before layout foundation. So let's do this. We don't need to worry about the procurement type of activity. So we don't need to worry here because that activity can do anytime. We don't need to worry about this one. We're going to decide later. For the shopping stuff, procurement activity, we don't need to worry about it right now. We're going to work on that a little bit later. So then over here, this to lay out my foundation. What is needed before that? Which activity is needed to be done immediately before layout?
Activity B.
Immediately proceeding before that.
Before
Layout, I need to dig. It's actually before dig, I need to lay out. Layout means just draw the location. Layout means draw the location of the foundation. Before I draw the location, what activity I need?
I don't think there's an activity before that.
Say that again.
I don't think there's an activity before that.
There's no activity needed before that. This is the starting point then. Okay, very good, very good. This is the starting point. Nothing needed before that, no IPA. Then before dig foundation, what activity should I finish?
Layout foundation.
Layout foundation, very good. I need to put A over here. So form work, if I want to put a form over there, what activity should be done?
Dig foundation.
Dig the foundation, B. Okay, and then if I want to pour concrete, I need to get what ready?
Form work.
I know I need to get at least, I need to have concrete ready, right? I know I need H over here. But in addition to H, so see the picture of my notes. Right now, the picture show you I'm ready to pour. So you can see after I put the form and I need the rebar ready, then I can pour. So the immediate IPA, immediate proceeding activity of pour concrete is over here, place rebar. Okay, you need to have the rebar ready before you pour concrete. So that means over here, this G should be here. Okay, and now buy rebar. As I said, this is a procurement. We can buy it at any time. So there's no IPA. Buy concrete also, there's no IPA. So cut and bend rebar. What need to be ready? Then I can cut and bend the rebar.
He has to buy the rebar.
Exactly, very good. We have to have the rebar. So that is E. Then place rebar. What is needed before I can place the rebar?
Cut rebar.
Cut and bend rebar. Is there anything else? see the picture? See the picture of the node? I need to get the rebar ready, rebar cut and bended. And also you
Formwork.
need formwork
Formwork.
is ready, because after you put the rebar over there, you can't insert the form anymore. Okay, that's a very good point. Very good point. So we need the formwork ready before that. So C is over here. So this is our IPA table. You got the IPA table over here. So if we input this IPA table like this to Primavera, it can automatically draw the diagram and do the calculation for you. Very convenient. But in this class, I will teach you for each step, how to do the manual calculation. So you already learned for the first step, gave you a list, how to create an IPA table. In our Primavera project, I will give you the IPA table. Then you use the IPA table to do next step analysis, to draw the network logic model, precedence diagram, and then do the calculation for the Primavera exercise. Okay, any question for this small example? Okay, no question, good. Then let me turn back to my note. Okay, so we have already finished our IPA table. If you didn't have enough time to write it down, that's okay. Next page, I already showed you the answer, IPA table answer over here. Okay, this is the IPA table. Let me turn back to my regular camera. Okay. So this is the IPA table. This is the solution over here. Okay. Then use this IPA table. Next step is to use the IPA table to draw the precedence diagram. So I will use an example to show you how to use the IPA table to draw this diagram. Okay. And then after we got that, this is gonna be chapter 3's content. I don't know if we still have time. It seems we only have 10 minutes left. So probably we will, let's see, probably we have. Then it could be draw a precedence diagram or arrow diagram. Precedence diagram over here is activity on nodes, and the arrow diagram, as I showed you over here, those are activity on arrows. You can see this arrow represent activity. This arrow represent activity. And those node, the node over here represent a time spot. A time spot. We call that event. Okay. Then this is the arrow diagram. We will wait close to the end of the semester. I will introduce the arrow diagram to you, how to do the arrow diagram calculation. First, let's handle the precedence diagram first. So now, this is chapter 3, the precedence diagram, how to draw the precedence diagram and how to do the precedence diagram calculation. Okay. So first, let's see the component. I already mentioned this earlier. Use another example. The component of precedence diagram include node. Node represent activities, and the link means the logic relationship. See, this one have 5 different activities, and there's a logic relationship over here. Finish this one. Finish layout the pool location, then we can dig hole. And after we dig the hole and set the flagpole, and we can set the truss and the roof frame. After framing work, we can install the roofing, and at the same time, we can start install the siding. Okay, this is a simple pole barn construction project. as an example, show you the nodes and the links. That's a component of precedence diagram. So now let's see how to use this one, how to use the IPA table I gave you, and how to use this list to draw the precedence diagram. Okay, let's go back to our paper. Okay, so over here, this is our IPA table I used. So based upon the table, first we read which activity is the starting point. There are 3, okay? But buy something, we're gonna draw that later. Buy something, procurement activity is not a real start. Real construction starting point is over here. So on my precedence diagram, the first activity I drawed is this A, layout. Okay, that's the first activity. And then what's next? You find from the IPA list, A is the first, then you find A in the table. A is over here. What activity is that? Is B. So that means B is following A. B is following A. So next one over here, we're gonna draw B because B is following A. Okay, B is dig foundation. Okay, then now the end is B. Then we find B in my table. B is over here. Then you find B, that's C. So C is following B. So over here, following B, we have C. C is formwork. Now C is end. Then we find from the table which one following C. This one following C. This is place rebar. So next one is G. G is place rebar. Place rebar following C, which is G. However, in addition to C, there's another F. F is over here. Is cut and bend. That means this G not only following C, is also following F. So we have a branch over here. Have a branch because it has 2. F. F is cut and bend. So you put cut and bend over here. And before F, this is F, before F is E. So E is before F, and E, now we find another head. So before F, we can find E. E is by rebar. If you find the procurement activity, that means the second head you already find. You already found, okay? So that's the E. Now let's go back to the main trunk over here, G. After G, G is over here in the table. So that's pour concrete. This is D. So D is following G. D is following G. D is pour concrete. Pour concrete. And also, again, similar to before, this pour concrete in addition to G has another head, which is H. H is a shopping one. Shopping one is another head. So this one have another branch over here. which is H, which is buy concrete. Okay, when you reach another head, when you reach a procurement, you can stop over here. And then let's go back to the main trunk over here, D. After D, there's nothing. So D is our last activity, okay? Nothing in the list show D. That means D is the very last one, okay? We finish this one. This is, use this IPA table, draw this one. Use IPA table, draw this one. The only hard part is those branch. If somebody have two, you need to find that branch until it reach a procurement activity. You can stop over there. Then go back to the main trunk over here. Okay, that's the analysis procedure. Okay, so this is, if you didn't write it down, that's okay. Next page of my notes provides you the correct answer. If you want practice, you can do that. Let's go back to my regular video and share the screen of my notes. So next page, this one. This is the main trunk over here. And this is the procurement of rebar and cotton band rebar, place rebar. And this one is by concrete, another procurement activity. So main trunk, main line is over here. Okay, so this is how this is the third step. First step is find activity list. Second step is use IPA table to order the activities. The third step is to use the IPA table, draw the precedence diagram. Use IPA table, draw the precedence diagram. Next week, we're going to keep working on this to talk about how to do this, use this precedence diagram. Then we input all the duration information and how to do the time and the duration calculation. That will be our next week's content. This Wednesday, wait for my announcement. Tomorrow, I will make the announcement for Wednesday's lab, because by now I didn't receive any information. They already set up. This morning, they tell me the database, Primavera database is not ready for you guys yet. That's this morning. I don't know if tomorrow they can send me something. Tomorrow Wednesday we're gonna have the lab in Zoom again in Zoom, and if not, then we will wait until next Wednesday to start. We have enough time. Some student, if you already have experience on using Primavera, probably each assignment only you can use 30 minutes, 40 minutes to finish. If you don't, probably you need to use some extra time of your own. Okay. Again, the lab, you're not necessarily to go to the lab during the class assigned time. You can go anytime, or if you know how to log in remotely to our computer lab, you can also work on your own computer to remotely control this database to work on. What I need is, I just want to see you have this Primavera assignment completed. So that's it. You don't have to work on exactly assigned time on Wednesday. If you want to start working on Monday or Tuesday, that's fine. Wednesday, I will zoom in with your guys to answer questions, okay? That's our Primavera in-class exercise schedule. That's more flexible on Wednesday, okay? That's it for today's class. I will post today's lectures recording on YouTube later today. Okay, thank you. See you guys next Monday.